talk. Yes. So for our next talk, we have a very profound speaker on raising resilient teenagers. Once again, I recommend that you bring your parents along with you for this talk because, apologies, you bring your parents along with you for this talk because it will be really interesting and it's something that your parents and children can do it together. So the next talk is by Dr. Pervin Dadachanji, who is a psychiatrist with a special interest in child and adolescent psychiatry. She has been in private practice since the last 25 years. She conducts parenting workshops for various parent groups. Excuse me. For various parent groups, schools, nurseries, and organizations in Mumbai. She's written a book called Recipes for Parenting and is a consultant psychiatrist at Umeed, a child development center, and at NHSRCC, Children's Hospital in Mumbai. Thank you so much for being here today, Dr. Dadachanji. We look forward to a really insightful talk. Over to you.
Good evening, everybody. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I just need someone to tell me that. I am not the best person where all this technology is concerned, living in a different era from all of you. Okay, so today I am going to be talking about, just let me share the screen, about raising resilient children. Can you enable my screen sharing, please?
Sure, ma'am. I think the host will be doing that promptly.
No, I'm not able to share my screen.
I'll just get that. I think there are some technical issues.
Okay. Okay, in case if there's a problem, then I'll just do it extempore, no problem. You let me know. If you can't, then do you want me to just start and then we'll see?
They're doing it right away, ma'am. It'll just be done.
Oh,
but you can just start and we'll...
Okay, yeah. So, so what I'm going to talk about is raising resilient teenagers. This is for parents with children who are in their teens. So first of all, what is resilience? So resilience is the capacity for all of us to recover from difficult life events. And, why do we talk about resilience so much? When you look at when people think of ending their life, when people feel miserable and they harm themselves. Also, if you look at during the lockdown situation, getting very anxious, getting very stressed out, I can't deal with this situation, etc. This is also about resilience. So earlier, everyone thought that you were born with resilience. So some people were resilient, some were not. Some could bounce back from situations and some could not. But the good news is that we all can be more resilient. And resilience is often taught by parents to children from the time that they are young. So I just wanted to give some examples of resilient people. So there is J.K. Rowling. She apparently had to give her manuscript for Harry Potter to 12 different publishing houses before she got published. So what happened to her? She was right deep down into a slump and she persevered and she sprung back. I don't know if any of you know about Harry Schultz, who used to be the ex-CEO of Starbucks. He, the same way. He apparently went to, I've got the number, 252 different financiers before he was able to get someone to finance Starbucks, and we all know the rest is history. Coming back closer to home, we look at Lakshmi Agarwal, the lady who, when she was 15 years old, she had acid thrown on her face by a spurned suitor. And she got out of it. She became this role model for all other acid victims. She got married. She got a movie made in her name. So we all have this resilience in us, okay? Now, what are the...
Ma'am, sorry to cut you in. You can share your screen now.
I can? Okay, let me just check it out. Okay. All right. Okay, is it moving? Am I going to the different slides? Have you got the slide of Starbucks and all coming up?
Ma'am, it's just showing a black screen on mine for some reason.
Oh, it's not coming?
No, if someone else could comment.
1 second. Over here, I can see the screen on. Okay, let me stop sharing and do it again. Has it come now?
Yes, we can see it now.
What can you see? Can you see the 7 pillars of resilience?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yeah, oh, lovely. Thank God. Okay, so these are the 7 pillars of resilience. I'm just going to talk about all of them in brief with a few examples, just to make you understand as parents how you can help your young adults to handle resilience. So the first one is confidence. Is this moving? I'm sorry, I'm just asking because sometimes it gets stuck.
Yes,
so
it's
I
moving.
just want
Yes, ma'am,
it's moving, right? Okay, great. So now, why is confidence so important? High confidence is related to optimism, is related to better performance in school, college. You're obviously much happier with your life. And therefore, even when you have a challenge, it is far, far easier to bounce back and get back into your, the regular life. So what are the things that, sorry, just a second. So how do we enhance confidence? Now, one of the important things that one needs to do, as parents, what we tend to do is we tend to not acknowledge and praise as much as we tend to find some fault with our children. So in a situation like you have a teenager who's often sullen, doesn't want to talk, etc. And then what happens, mom will say that, you're always so annoying and so irritated with everything. I do so much and nothing works. So what are we doing? We're focusing on the negative. But if one acknowledged the time that that teenager was more interactive or was happy and said that, today we had such a lovely conversation. It was so beautiful when you spoke about what happened in college. Now, the important thing here is to not immediately say that, oh, why don't you do this every day? So praising and acknowledging that these are my these are my strengths, focusing on the strengths makes the child feel more confident about herself. Another thing which I tell parents of every age group, and actually I think it's not only about parents, it's about us human beings, to not use labels. You're shy, you are good, you are bad, you're a loser, you're a liar. Instead, focus on the behavior that, when you take a little longer to get friendly with people, or you what you said that day was not the truth. So instead of using labels, because labels make children feel that, oh, well, I am a bad boy, so okay, I can never anyway be good, so may as well be bad. Or the other way around, a child who is, you go on saying that, oh, you know, you're a very good girl, you've done this, so you're good about everything. That child has the pressure that, oh my God, I can never not be good. Another thing which enhances confidence is focusing on one's strengths. And that also helps children focus on their strengths. So I do a lot of therapy with adolescents. And sometimes I have children, especially those who are depressed and sad. And when I say, okay, come on, give me 3 strengths of yours, it is really difficult for the child to tell me that. But if I say, okay, tell me 3 areas in which you are challenged, they'll give me probably 13 instead of 3. So focusing on strengths, so to talk about that, okay, you know, you are bad, you are not good at academics, but you are fabulous at football. You know that this is the thing about your child. You don't say it in this way, but when the child comes and tells you, you know, I'm good at nothing, a sentence like, well, you are good at football, academics is not everything. Or even I think focusing on the relationships with kids have with each other, that you are so good at keeping friendships, or people do come and confide in you. I mean, I think that's a great strength which we have. We don't have to focus only on people's things about academics, etc. Another thing which we parents do is compare, whether it's with another child of ours or with someone else. Never works. I always tell people that, you know, if your husband, you cooked something for your husband, and I'm just saying it because I've often done these talks for moms only, that if your husband comes and you have given him some, you've made something very interesting for him to eat, and he sees it and says, yeah, it was good, but you know, my mother cooks better. What happens? Does that comparison make you want to cook better? No, that comparison makes you hate mother-in-law and get mad at your husband. So comparing does not help at all. And in fact, it is one of those things which leads to lower self-confidence. The next thing is competence. Now, competence is something which is real. You know, we all need to do that for our children, and often we don't do it. We do the opposite. We do everything for our kids, so they feel that they are not competent to do things themselves, that I can do it, spirit is not there. No, I can't do it because mom will do it better. Or how can I give up this assignment? I'll have to show it to dad because he will do the necessary things. So when you do not give your child that ability to do things himself and even fail at them, I think this is another thing which as parents we need to learn. Let them fall. Let them fail, because that's the best teaching one can give. I am not saying that we, sort of abdicate our responsibility, but it's okay to let our children fail. So what do we do about competence? How do you enhance it? So the first thing is to what I just said about opportunity to master skills. So if you do your assignment for your child, or you help him with everything, or you tell him, okay, I'll do this for you, you take flack for him also, which we often do as parents to protect our children, or call up the tuition teacher and say, I am not feeling well, so the mother will pick up the phone. I think these are also things which we need to allow our children to fail and therefore take the consequences of their action. Now how do you do this? So you start small. I'm giving the example of, I'm sure all of you have gone through the time that now can I send my child by public transport, whether it's a train, whether it's a bus, whether it's a taxi. We've all gone through our stressors. So how do you work on that? So start small. Na? Okay, that today maybe you can take a taxi from here to somewhere which is very close, or an area where the child is familiar with, and then slowly add to it. If your child makes a mistake, like lands up in a taxi instead of going to grandmom's house, lands up somewhere else, try again. Don't say, oh, you can't even take care of yourself, forget it. Because when you make the child try again, you're teaching him two things. One is that it's okay to make mistakes, because that is really important. None of us can go through life without making mistakes. And the other is that my parents trust me to do this. So that again enhances competence, and therefore even confidence. And then you go to the next skill, whatever it is. So small baby steps help, even in children who you feel do not, lack the sense or lack the courage to do things. Help them to go from one task to another. Connectedness. Now, this is one of the most important things about our children. Resilient children have great connections with their friends, with other family members, with teachers. And I cannot tell you how important connectedness is to develop, for your child to develop. In fact, recently there's been a study done at Harvard which has shown that children, people who have good relationships are the ones who live longer, have less chances of having physical illness, less prevalence of mental illness too, because the connectedness is there. In fact, during lockdown, I have noticed that the people who have more anxiety, more depression, are those who don't have those connections, people who are alone, lonely, etc. So this is a really, really important aspect of raising resilient teenagers. So how do you enhance connectedness? First of all, for children, alleviating distress is very important. So, I have this example where you have this beautiful daughter of yours who comes to you hysterically crying, I can't go for my best friend's party because I have a zit on my cheek. And you can hardly see that little pimple, but it is devastating for her, because she has planned for this party and she's thinking of, everyone looking at that little pimple, which is not really very important. So instead of saying, oh, don't be silly, where is it? I can't see it. It's such a small thing. It's not going to really bother you. You just go to the party. You are trivializing what she feels. If you alleviate her distress by saying, darling, yes, I can see that this is something which is bothering you. Let's see what we can do about it. This is causing you and your child to connect more together, and also for your child to feel that I am worth something. And that also enhances confidence. So, all these pillars of these 7 C's of resilience are all connected with each other. Now, reciprocity is what? You're sitting at the dining table. I'm just giving, I'm using these words. I'm just going to give examples, because I feel that, this resilience is, as a topic, would take a 3-day workshop. I'm trying to put everything together in a 40-minute session. So reciprocity is what? Where there is reciprocal connection. So I have had this issue with a lot of parents who come to me and say, you know what, my kids don't sit with us and have dinner. It's a pain to shout out and tell them, come on, come and have dinner. So then we go to the next part, and I say that, so what do you all discuss at the dining table? So there is a lot of silence, and often it is that we discuss studies. We discuss negative behaviors. We discuss tuitions. So what is happening? There is no reciprocal interaction happening. And therefore, you are going to lose that connection between you and the child if you continue in this way and cause more of a rift between you and the child. So, I mean, a dining table conversation is one thing, but I'm just talking about reciprocity in a normal situation. Then parental control. Now here, a lot of parents ask me that how much control is good control? So there's nothing like good and bad. It is basically about having some boundaries and some limits. So being totally permissive and giving in to everything your child wants is going to also not really help you in connecting with the child, nor is the other way where you refuse everything to the child. So it is really important to have that optimum amount of control. And let me also say that what control you have over your child at 3 is different from 13, is different from 23. So we have to, sort of let go gradually. And of course, one of the major problems of connectedness or reduced connectedness is technology, which is being used more and more. Now, when I'm talking to a group of parents whose children are in their teens, it is difficult to set rules now. But when you have younger children, and so, parents say, okay, on his 13th birthday, I think I'll give him a phone because then he has to travel on his own, he goes for his tuitions, whatever. But rules are not set. So then afterwards, you realize that the child is on the phone all night. So then you take away the phone and then there is a lot of anger and aggression, etc. So rule setting is important. And here another thing which is very important is role modeling. So I had this group of kids who I had done a session for children in a school. They were 7th grade girls. And they asked me a very interesting question, that how do we stop our parents from using their phones, because they are constantly on their phones, they have their groups, they are laughing on their groups, listening to some silly videos, etc. So monkey does what monkey sees. So as for technology, we also need to be careful about how much technology we are using. The next part is character. And I think the values and the morals which we instill in our children is really important, especially now when they are being exposed to a gamut of different values. They're reading so much about things which you do not believe in. They are exposed to so much which you are very worried about. So to teach them to get their character in place. I had read a very lovely thing somewhere where they had said that personality is about when the person behaves in a particular way when people are around, while character is something where the person behaves like that even without anyone around. So what does a person with character have? Interested in the thoughts of others, basically an honest, compassionate, generous person, able to handle his own emotions, doesn't hurt others. So how do we enhance character? And the most important thing is to teach children right from wrong. I think all of us do that in different ways. With adolescents, probably very difficult because they'll say, oh my God, now Chalo, we have to listen to this bloody lecture again. So don't give lectures, give stories. There can be so many stories. It could be something which you have read, or it could be something about your childhood or adolescence, or some friend who had gone through some moral dilemma. So when you talk about that, you are also giving your values to your children. And often what helps here is to give your opinion, give your values, and then let the child make the decision. Because if you impose it, it's not going to work. Then I am behaving because I know that dad will be angry if I do it this way. You want the child to do this because it is the right thing to do. Also, empathy enhances character. And how do you do empathy? It is, of course, again done when we are younger, where you teach children about how do you think the other person felt when you boxed him or something. Now our adolescents, perhaps we are not going to look at there. But again, movies can help, teachable moments, you see something, and then of course, I mean, I have to warn you that when you all are watching a movie together, and if you're going to use that as a teachable moment, an adolescent is not going to want to watch a movie with you. But perhaps later on talking about that, you know, that how do you think she felt when all those girls ganged up and were nasty to her? So, you know, these kind of things also make children think. Then the next thing is about behavior. Correcting your child's behavior is important, but another equally important thing is do not correct the behavior in front of others. So I'll give you an example which had happened to my son when he was perhaps maybe 13, 14. When his friends would come over home and he would be talking and I'd ask him something, he would just either snap at me or be downright rude about things. And I just heard him out. I think I went through it maybe 2 or 3 times. I didn't say anything. Then the next time I spoke to him and I told him that, you know, this kind of the way you speak to me, it hurts me. And I don't think it's right because I never speak like that to you. So I would like you to correct this behavior. And if you don't, I'm sorry, I will be compelled to speak to you like this in front of others, which of course never happened. I don't think I would have, but there are certain things where we have to tell our children. When our children talk badly to hired help, we need to correct them, not maybe in front of the hired help, but later on. It's really important to do that. And also one of the major things about children's personalities is their ability to compromise in different situations and not go into this my way or the highway. And often as parents, we are responsible for having children who are able to compromise and children who are not able to, because often we give in saying forget it. But what we don't realize is that in the big bad world, people are not going to give in. So these are important things about character. Then the next thing is contribution. Now, what is contribution? Contribution is when your child feels that whatever he does is making a difference to other people's lives. And I think for all of us, right, I think I feel really good about the fact that I am contributing to mental health, mental illness, helping so many people. And I think all of us need to have that thing where we know that our actions make a difference to people. So how do you go about that? The first thing is mattering, which I spoke about, that I matter because I did something good, so I matter. It could be the smallest thing. It could be getting Nani to have this lovely smile on her face because you did something sweet for her. So this is really important. And also teaching our children about altruism. And when I mean altruism, I don't mean only what is the thing that, oh, charity, you give money. It's not necessarily that. It could be starting a movement which can help. Like I think a lot of children did wonderful things during the first 2-3 months of lockdown, whether it was feeding stray dogs, whether it was collecting money to give the migrant workers, whether it was even something like spending time with an old grandparent, just talking on the phone with that person, or if the person is at home, to interact. So this also increases our feeling that what we do matters. Giving chores, of course, I know that there have been lots of issues about chores where children have felt, oh God, we have to do this, we have to do the jhadu, we have to help in the cooking, etc. But it is something which we still need to teach our children. In our homes, this doesn't happen often because we all have help. And inviting your children's opinion, to tell your child that, okay, you know, this is a situation. It could be anything that, you know, I'm not sure whether I've had a little issue with, say, my brother, and I'm not sure whether I should bring it up with them. Let me tell you, your older teenagers or your early young adults are very wise. I find I have a 24-year-old daughter and a 26-year-old son, and I often feel that their advice is really very wise. So to invite your children's opinion is so important, instead of saying, oh, you don't know anything, you have no experience, I know a lot. So when you invite your child's opinion, you're also telling them that they matter, and that makes them feel more sure of themselves, more comfortable with themselves. The next is coping. What is coping? Coping is our response to stress. I think we all have different coping styles when we are faced with adversity. Some of us, I mean, everyone has, you've seen in your own homes that one child will handle lockdown beautifully, or one parent will handle lockdown terribly. So there is a lot of, it's a lot to do with how we cope and how we handle stress. So how do you increase your child's coping? You teach them to solve a problem. So for example, it could be something as simple as your child wants to go out at night and you don't want her to go out. And so she says that, no, but I want to. So there's this huge fight at home. So teaching your child that, okay, the child says that I want to go out. So the problem is that my daughter wants to stay out till, say, 1 p.m. in the night, and you don't want that. So discuss the problem, find a solution, use the solution, see how it works and if it doesn't work, find another solution. This teaches your child to cope better on his own later on also. So this is when you do problem solving out in the open, afterwards, children are able to do that themselves. Now here, children also look at us. So if you can't handle stress very well, children learn from this, they absorb it, and they behave in a similar way. So we need to be careful about our own abilities to handle stress. Also, setting clear boundaries, it's very important, which I spoke about earlier also, that there are certain behaviors which are not acceptable. So when you tell your child that if something happens and, you know, like, I mean, I know of a lot of kids who were brought back from their studies abroad, and it was like getting mad at the parents that you brought me back and you've ruined my life, etc. Over here, why is it important to set boundaries? Not, of course, because of the rude behavior, but also to teach your child that you need to have some better coping skills, or to look at the problem and to see that there are certain things that I can do, certain things I'm not in control of, and so I let go. Routines are the most normalizing thing for coping. Every workshop that I have done about coping, in this lockdown period, I've spoken about routines. You follow routines, you normalize things. You follow routines, you are able to handle stress in a far better way. And the last pillar is about control. And when I mean control, I mean emotional control. So those of us who are unable to handle or manage our emotions in times of adversity are the ones who go through a lot of maybe anxiety, acting out, getting angry, etc. So how do you manage to be more in control of your emotions? By helping your child label emotions. You know, we don't talk about emotions. So we only know about anger and normality. We need to teach our child that, you know, you're not angry, you are frustrated. You're not angry, you are sad. So if we are able to help the child label the emotion, then the child can go back and see, okay, you know, actually I'm not angry, I'm frustrated because you pulled me out from my university in New York and brought me home. So it is really very important for us to label our emotions. Then riding the wave. What is riding the wave is riding the wave of your emotion to be able to understand that, okay, I'm getting more irritated, I'm getting more angry, my muscles in the back of my neck are becoming tight. Why am I getting like this? What is the emotion? So teaching children to ride the wave. Go outside. When I say outside, of course, right now it's a difficult one, but going outside, playing, doing sport, doing exercise, etc., is also very important for emotional control. And of course, I'm sure we've all heard of calming techniques, whether it's just breathing, whether it's mindfulness, meditation. And if as parents, we are able to do it ourselves, we are able to teach our children to do that. So in the end, I just want to end with this beautiful quote, which says that the oak fought the wind and was broken. The willow bent when it must and survived. So we need to make our children willows who can bend to different situations and then spring back, because that is what resilience is all about. Thank you. I think you're mute.
Apologies. Thank you so much, ma'am. This was really insightful. If you wouldn't mind, would you please take a question or two from the audience?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
Ma'am, so the first, these are anonymous questions because their parents are also on the call.
Okay.
The first one is, how do you deal with the fact that when parents want work done immediately, they have no respect for the child's time, especially when the chores do not immediately need attention? They believe there's a certain lack of respect for the child's time and space.
Okay, so I find this really interesting because I think maybe some parents will say, oh my God, I was going to say that they never do their work. So, you know, I think one of the things which happens here is that parents look at their child's history. So because she has always, whenever I tell her to do something, she doesn't do it. So I have to go on and on and on telling her. So as a teenager, what I would look at is to say that, Mom, I will do it within this period. So it could be within an hour, within 2 hours, but set a timeline or time frame and follow through. You know, so supposing if I tell my child that, you know, I want all those bags which we've taken out to be put back on the loft, will you please do it? So if my son says, yes, I will do it, I will probably after half an hour again say, please do it. But if he says that, Mom, I've got work, I'll finish it by lunchtime, then I know that till lunchtime I need to be taking. So setting a time frame is important. And so what does that bring us to communication? To communicate to the other person what is needed. And I would say that even to parents, that to tell the child it's not urgent, but I would like you to do it by afternoon, for example. And not go on nagging. I know nagging is a real pain. All of us feel that, right?
Definitely, ma'am. Thank you so much for that answer. It was really, I'm sure the person was really satisfied with it.
I hope so.
The next question is someone who says that they're 22 years old and their parents still can't accept the fact that they're a grown-up now. They still meddle in every part of their life and try to give unsolicited advice, thinking that the child does not have the right frame of mind. So how would you deal with something like that?
I think I need to talk to the parents then, no? About it. You know, it is, yes, I feel that as parents, we still, let me tell you something here. I am 55 years old. I still have my mother who tells me what I should do. So I think parenting never goes. Even as kids, you all will probably, when you become parents, you will also do the same thing, because somewhere that whole mindset that this is my child and I need to protect her is very strong. Again, I feel what would work perhaps is to have a chat with your parents about this, but not when you're angry. So, mom says, okay, you don't wear this and go, you wear this and go because, you're going on the road, whatever. And you snap back at her and say, you always treat me like a child. Let me, I'm 22 years old. I don't think helps. So communicating to your parents that you do feel you need some help, in the sense that you please, I can make my decisions, but doing it in a nice way and not when you're angry is very important. A lot of the times your parents will absorb it. A few times they will not, because they will have focused on those times when you have made mistakes in the past, which would have been when you're 12 years old, and they will still bring it up at 22. So to be able to communicate this to them that, I'm not the same when I was 12 that I am at 22. This has been shown even in research that parents still feel their child is what they remember of him or her in childhood. So communication when everyone is calm, that is the important thing.
Definitely, ma'am. And the next question deals with a little bit of communication. It's 3 questions, I think, that are very similar. So basically, because of the generation gap, there is a certain communication gap as well. And because of the generation gap, there are certain disagreements between the 2 generations, between parents and children. So how should one of them get their points across without hurting the feelings or the ego of the other party in question?
Yeah, so this is again what I said earlier, when I spoke about communicating to a parent or a child when there is no anger. So you don't talk about anything when one person is angry, because then there is no conflict resolution. Also, another important thing is when that person said that without hurting the feelings of someone, right? So there you speak with an I message. I meaning starting with the letter I. That I feel upset when you treat me like a child. In fact, not only going and saying, I feel upset when you treat me like a child, but giving examples that, Mom, I really feel that you don't trust me to make the right decision. I was talking about competence earlier, and this is something which I really feel parents need to do. I think we all need to make our mistakes and then learn from them. But as parents, they want to protect, and when they want to protect, there is claustrophobia caused in the child. So if as a teenager, you want to communicate to your parents, communicate when everyone is calm, and start with an I message that I feel upset about this. And be ready to listen to your parents' explanation. Somewhere you would be very surprised that their explanation you would never have. Mom may say that, I do this because, say, perhaps mom had gone through some really bad experience in the past. Maybe that may not make you get less irritated with her, but you may understand where she's coming from. So having these open conversations which are not insulting or critical are very important. I think at the end of the day, as parents, we're very happy we want our children to be happy, right? I think all parents, whoever is here, wants that. It's that sometimes that wanting to keep, give our children this perfect world is the problem, because it's not a perfect world. We all need to learn.
No, sir.
All right. Thank you so much, ma'am. I'm afraid that's our time. Can't take more questions. But thank you so much, ma'am. This was really, really helpful. I'm sure both parents and children could benefit from this talk, because there will be a certain shift in behaviors after hearing your wise words. And maybe hostilities at home during this lockdown can definitely reduce.
Thank you. Bye.
See you, ma'am. Thank you. All right. So we now have a short meditation session that's organized for all of you while we take a break.